want to grow on Instagram. What do I do? Well, let me tell you, there's not a magic formula. There's no trick that will land you 10,000 followers in 1 week. But that doesn't mean that you have to panic or blame the algorithm either. The answer, like most of the time, is in the data. After analyzing over 400,000 accounts and over 16 millions of posts in your social media study, we spotted clear patterns of what works for brands on Instagram. And no, I'm not talking about big and popular brands like Nike or Zara. We're actually talking about small accounts. Like, for example, a kebab shop in Paris hitting hundreds and thousands of reach and likes on Instagram. Or we're also talking about a wellness clinic under 7,000 followers, pulling in millions of people in views. So how can you actually grow on Instagram? Well, I'm gonna hit you with some tips that you can put into practice to see if you can apply them and if you see any change with your accounts. On tip number 1, I have formats. Because one of the secrets to growing on Instagram is not just picking one format. It's actually knowing what format is good at. We already know that Reels are the discovery king. They literally push you in front of people that you don't know yet. For example, you can be thinking about a 10-second reel about a cold brew that is reaching thousands of new people to your account. Carousels, for example, don't spread as wide, but they stick longer. And that is because they make people say, okay, I see it and I'm gonna save this for later. And these types of posts are perfect for step-by-step processes, personal stories, or tips. For example, if we're staying on the same lane as coffee, we can be making a carousel about, let me think, I don't know. Yeah, 5 recipes made with coffee, for example. So, in conclusion, Reels attract and carousels retain. If I were doing this on my social strategy, I would be thinking that a smart combo is 2 to 3 reels a week to boost reach, and at least one great carousel with a lot of good information that will make people want to save it. And that mix that I already told you is actually the mix that we saw people use in our social media study, and that has really worked for them. A great example of this is UV Beauty. They actually have a great strategy because they hook people with their reels, but then if you start scrolling, you actually see one of the carousels that is very similar to the reel that you probably saw 2 weeks ago. It is the same information or the same approach, but in carousels. And those carousels are actually educational. Some of them have even 20 slides. On tip number 2, I have topics. You have to talk about what actually matters to your audience. Sometimes I see it and I scroll through social and I see that a lot of creators talk about a lot of things, and so they end up talking about nothing. And it's so sad because I feel like they are missing out so much. The gold mine about content is talking about pain points, not just fixing them or talking about them once in a lifetime. It's about sticking to them, mixing them between content to content, and solving them with a clear voice. And that is what will make people remember you. But if I tell you this, you might be wondering, how do I find or how do I post those pain points? Okay, I completely get you, but don't worry. I have some advices for you. You can start by making quick polls on stories. If we stay on the same coffee/cafe theme that we were talking about earlier, you can ask your coffee shop visitors through your stories if they prefer a caramel macchiato or if they prefer the special cappuccino that you guys offer. And those answers that you get from that poll will tell you what to post. You can also look for reviews on Google, or you can go to Reddit and search something related to coffee shops or coffee, and I will assure you that you will find hundreds of testimonies. For example, if you take a look on your reviews on Google and people are saying that your service is too slow, make a reel showing how you can make an espresso under 3 minutes. Or you can also make a carousel talking about how you're spending less time on your drinks because you have a super efficient process. For example, another tip is to also go to your competitor comments. For example, if you see that in your competitor comments, people are asking for vegan options that they don't currently have, that's an opportunity for you to apply it to your business and start getting content out that talks about those vegan options that you currently implemented. Or you can take out a carousel that says 3 menu recipes that we currently have with oat milk. That is a good option that you can take from there as well. And as the last tip, in this tip, we have real world chats. Because yes, a lot of these things you can actually get from your customers right there and then. Ask your coworkers or even you to listen to the conversations of your customers over the counter. Ask them stuff. I will assure you that your most loyal customers will be super honest with you and will tell you something valuable that you can either apply to your business or make content of. And this tip not only goes for coffee shops, it goes for a lot of niches. Fashion, gyms, cooking. Because if you have one clear pain point, I assure you that you will have endless content ideas. On tip number 3, I have humor. Because believe it or not, you are allowed to use humor to connect, even if it doesn't fully apply to your brand. And what I do here to fully get this is think of you when you're using Instagram. What grabs my attention isn't a dry stat-filled post. It's that meme or POV that makes you say, haha, that's literally me. That feeling of recognition right there is what makes people want to share. And this works. Humor works because it reflects, at the end of the day, your audience. And this doesn't only need to be memes, just because I said it before, or a POV post. It can be a modern animal clinic showing the newest Gen Z vet life with pets, and while applying a little bit of irony there. Or it can be a single post from a coffee shop saying, I cannot survive on Monday without coffee. You see what I'm going there? The key here for you to be kind of like genuine about these posts is to keep it simple. Pick daily situations, then exaggerate them or POV them. You can also add a funny sound to them because the result here is that your brand will feel 10,000s more human to your audience. And good thing about these posts is that your shares will multiply. People laugh about it and people want to share with their friends, with their family, with their coworkers because they get them. And you know what they say? Every share is a green light for Instagram to push your content even further. On tip number 4, I have listen to your content. Because when something works, believe me, you have to squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it and take all of that advantage from that thing that works. Because yes, forget the freaking myth about constant reinventation. Constant reinventation, I'm tired of hearing all of that jazz. Our short video study actually showed that the same format repeated with some tweaks here and there blew up again and again and again for not only one, but a lot of creators. For example, we took a look at this account that we studied. Their name is Berliner Pigale. And if I'm not saying that right, I'm so sorry. But when we studied their content, we noticed that they had the same format, the same shots, the same style every time. Because they knew it worked. So they started applying that to all of their reels. And guess what? As a result, they got over 100,000 views per reel. Another good example of this is Cabby Lane. And I'm sure you know him because, I mean, who doesn't? And he is amazing and super funny. But if you take a look at his content has the same silent reaction formula where he does and he noticed that for the audience it was funny, it was relatable, it was shareable. So guess what? He kept doing it. He didn't have to reinvent the wheel every time because it worked. And at the end of the day, that became his personal brand. And what I'm saying with this is sometimes, or most of the times, if it works, repetition doesn't kill. It actually builds. If your style works, make variations with it until your audience notices that it's you. It's a brand from you. It comes from you. I mean, trust me, naturally, they will start noticing that these are the kind of posts that you or your brand make. But if this doesn't work, how do you know when to stop if you feel like you're repeating the same content and it's not giving you any results? Easy. You have to measure. because that is the key here. Measure, measure, measure. If shares and saves come in whenever you post one of these posts, that means you're going on the right path. But if they drop, you need to pivot. And with Metricool, you can do this. You can track, plan, and repurpose content without spending hours on it. And on the last tip, I have trends. And this is a big word. But with this, I mean that you have to ride and pick trends that make sense for you and your audience. Because trends are like waves. Pick the right one and it will carry you till the end of the way. But pick the wrong one and it can drown you. In our study, we studied a creator account and he happened to be a photographer with I think only 1,400 followers, which is actually not that much. But he went viral talking about Hurricane Helene from, I believe it was South or North Carolina, one of those two. And the thing is that he didn't talk about this hurricane with forecasts. He actually implemented trends in it and added his skill, which was storytelling and the visuals that he took. And it actually worked super well for him because he knew which trend was appropriate for this subject. So before you jump on any trend, ask yourself, does this make sense to my audience? Does it sound like me? And most importantly, does it add value? If it passes those 3 feelers, ride the wave. If not, chill and wait for the next one. At the end of the day, you have to remember that these tips are only a guide because growth on Instagram isn't about a fixed recipe. It's about experimenting, testing, measuring, and refining until you find the formula. And if you want more examples and fresh data, you have to download our 2025 social media study at the link in our description. Or you can even scan these 2 QR codes for our short video study and our social media study. So tell me, which tip are you gonna try first? Bye, Metricooler.